Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of Zen Buddhism.
It's a fascinating tradition, really.
It is, with a rich history and a lot of cultural impact.
Exactly, and so much to unpack. We've got a great mix of sources for this one.
Historical texts, philosophical essays.
Even some modern takes on Zen.
Yeah, how those principles are playing out in the modern world.
Which I think will be really interesting to explore. I mean, why is Zen still relevant?
Right, centuries after its origins. It's a good question.
Definitely. But to understand that, I think we got to start with the historical context.
Yeah, good point. I know Zen has roots in India.
Absolutely. It traces back to Siddhartha Gautama.
The Buddha himself?
Right, around the 5th century BCE. His teachings, meditation, enlightenment.
Those formed the foundation.
The bedrock, really, of what became Zen, but it was in China a few centuries later.
Around the 6th century CE.
That it started becoming its own unique form, evolving into what we know as Chan Buddhism.
So what caused that shift? From Indian Buddhism to Chan?
Well, as Buddhism spread, it encountered different cultures and philosophies.
Makes sense.
And in China, it ran into Taoism.
The native Chinese tradition.
Exactly, emphasizing nature, simplicity, effortless action, all that.
And that clash. Or maybe fusion is a better word.
Yeah, fusion. It led to this really creative blend of ideas, and that's how Chan Buddhism emerged.
Fascinating. So how did Taoism specifically shape Chan? What ideas got woven in?
Oh, there were a few key ones. The concept of wu-wei, for example.
I've heard of that. Effortless action, right.
Yeah, non-doing, going with the flow, and that resonated with Buddhist non-attachment.
Letting go of striving.
Exactly. And then there's the Taoist appreciation for nature, simplicity.
Which we see reflected in those beautiful Zen gardens.
Exactly. Minimalist aesthetics, those temples, gardens, it's all connected.
Wow, okay. So this fusion creates Chan in China. But how does it get to Japan and become the Zen we know today?
That's an interesting journey. Japanese monks went to China to study, bringing it back around the 12th century. And two key figures here are Eisai and Dogen.
I've heard those names.
Eisai brought back the Rinzai school.
The one with the koans, right? Those riddles.
Exactly, designed to trigger enlightenment.
Whereas Dogen founded Soto Zen.
With shikantaza, just sitting, no specific focus.
So even early on, we see these different approaches to practice.
Yeah, it shows the diversity within Buddhist thought.
And how those teachings were adapted as they traveled.
Right. Rinzai, more dynamic, confrontational, breaking those thought patterns. And Soto, gentler, more introspective.
Okay, I see the distinction. So for a newcomer, all these schools can be confusing.
Yeah, I get that.
So what's the common thread? What unites all these Zen schools?
At their core, it's the emphasis on direct experience over doctrine.
So not just blindly accepting beliefs.
Nope. It's about practice, mindfulness, finding truth firsthand.
So finding your own path to enlightenment, not following a rule book.
Precisely. Each person's journey is unique. But there are some guiding principles.
Okay, what are those core principles? What underpins Zen practice?
One big one is Buddha nature. Everyone has the potential for enlightenment.
It's not something external, but something you awaken to.
Right. It's already there. Then there's impermanence. Everything is always changing.
Which encourages letting go of attachment.
And embracing the present moment. And interconnectedness. Everything is interdependent.
Wow, that's not just spiritual, that's relevant to understanding life itself.
Exactly. These principles apply to relationships, work, everything.
Okay, so we've got history, core principles, but what does Zen practice actually look like?
Well, meditation is at the heart of it. Cultivating mindfulness, quieting the mind, experiencing those principles directly.
And we talked about the different approaches, shikantaza and koan practice.
Right. So for shikantaza, it really is just sitting. Upright posture, natural breath.
No mantras, visualization.
No, just pure awareness of the present moment. Observing thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Sounds almost like surrender.
It is letting go of control, being with yourself as you are.
And through that, a deeper clarity emerges.
Peace, insight. It all comes with practice. Now, koan practice, those are the riddles.
They always seemed baffling to me.
I get that. One famous one is, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
Yeah, see, what am I supposed to do with that?
You contemplate it. It's not about logic. It's about breaking through your usual thinking.
Not finding the right answer, but the process itself.
Exactly. Pushing your boundaries, questioning everything, realizing the limits of your mind.
Sounds intense.
It can be. It dismantles those rigid beliefs that cause suffering, are primarily used in Rinzai, but other schools use them too.
As teaching tools.
Right. So yeah, meditation's key. But does Zen practice go beyond just sitting?
Good question.
Mhm.
Is there more to it than just formal meditation?
Absolutely. It's about integrating those principles into every aspect of life. Mindful living, or gyoji,
What does it look like in practice, bringing Zen off the cushion into the real world?
it can be so many things. Mindful eating, walking, even washing dishes.
Bringing awareness to the mundane.
Exactly. Cultivating presence in interactions, bringing calm to your work. It all counts.
Finding Zen in the ordinary, not separating practice from life.
You got it. Every moment is an opportunity. And there are specific practices for this, like samu.
Work practice.
Yep, in monasteries, it's cleaning, gardening, cooking, all done mindfully, but it applies to any work.
So even work can be a path to awareness.
Absolutely. And then there's the Japanese tea ceremony, shonoyu.
Oh, yeah. Very ritualistic.
It is, but it embodies those principles.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, simplicity, harmony.
Making tea into a meditative experience.
Transforming the ordinary into something profound. And that's what Zen is all about.
A way of life, not just a set of beliefs.
Approaching the world with awareness and intention. You said it perfectly.
Well, we've talked history, principles, practice. But what about the philosophical foundations of Zen? How does it fit into Buddhism as a whole?
It draws heavily from Mahayana Buddhism, Buddha nature, the potential for enlightenment in everyone. And the Mahayana teachings on emptiness, shunyata, that lack of inherent existence in everything.
Deep stuff.
It is, but Zen emphasizes direct experience over just intellectual understanding.
So not just studying scriptures or arguing about philosophy.
Nope. It's about realizing those teachings through your own experience, putting them into practice.
Making those complex ideas accessible, grounded in daily life.
In a way, yes. And that emphasis on experience has shaped art, culture, life in East Asia.
That's what I want to hear more about, the cultural impact. Let's start with those Zen gardens.
Ah, yes, those minimalist masterpieces, especially the dry landscape gardens, Karsansuri.
What makes them so Zen? What principles do we see there?
Simplicity is a big one. Minimal elements, rocks, gravel, just a few plants, evoking tranquility, focus, contemplating nature without distractions.
Less is more.
Exactly. And asymmetry. Unlike Western gardens that are all about order, Zen gardens embrace the natural, the organic.
Reflecting that Zen appreciation for imperfection.
And impermanence, yes. Not imposing structure, but working with nature's inherent beauty.
And I heard that raking the gravel is like a meditation.
It is. Bringing mindfulness and intention to a simple task. Connecting with nature.
It's amazing how such minimal design can evoke so much.
It's powerful stuff. And that same aesthetic, simplicity, mindfulness, we see it in other art forms too.
Like calligraphy and ink painting.
Exactly. Shodo, the calligraphy, and sumai, the painting, deeply rooted in Zen.
I always found them elegant, but I didn't realize the connection.
They emphasize spontaneity, mindfulness, a direct link between the artist's inner state and those brushstrokes.
So it's not just about making a pretty picture.
Nope, it's about expressing a state of being. Zen artists meditate before creating, cultivating presence, and the brushstrokes reflect that inner state.
That's beautiful.
It is. And the subjects are often so simple, bamboo, birds, landscapes, but there's so much depth there.
And the calligraphy, what's special about that?
Same emphasis on spontaneity, expressing the inner state. Bold, dynamic strokes, energy, vitality.
And that focus on simplicity we talked about.
Absolutely. Minimal elements, powerful impact. It's fascinating how it reflects those core principles.
Are there any specific images in Zen art that stand out?
Oh, the Enso, for sure. A circle drawn with one brushstroke represents enlightenment, emptiness, the universe.
Wow, so much meaning in one simple shape.
That's the beauty of Zen aesthetics, finding profound meaning in the simple.
So from gardens to visual arts, Zen's influence is clear. But what about the tea ceremony?
Ah, shinoi. That's a perfect example of Zen principles in everyday life.
Taking something ordinary and making it spiritual.
Exactly. Every action is deliberate, mindful. The whisking, the utensils, the serving, all of it.
And the tea room itself.
Spare, uncluttered, creates tranquility, focus, a space to step out of the busyness of life.
To become more contemplative.
Yes, and it's not just the physical space, it's that inner posture of presence too, awareness in every interaction.
With the host, the guests, the tea itself.
It's a total sensory experience, and it shows how Zen transforms the ordinary into something meaningful.
Incredible. We've covered so much ground. Gardens, art, tea ceremony, they all have that same feel, that simplicity presence.
Right. There's a term for that aesthetic, wabi-sabi.
I've heard that, but what does it really mean?
It's a Japanese concept, embracing imperfection, impermanence, simplicity, finding beauty in the natural, the rustic.
So not chasing after some perfect ideal.
Nope. Appreciating things as they are in their natural state. Very Zen.
It is embracing impermanence and interconnectedness.
Yeah.
And that aesthetic goes beyond just art and gardens.
Oh, yeah. You see it in pottery, textiles, architecture, even food.
Fascinating. Okay, what about martial arts? I know Zen's been influential there, too.
Absolutely. Kendo, swordsmanship, and Kyudo, archery especially.
How do those embody Zen?
They emphasize mental discipline and mindfulness alongside the physical skill. Not just technique, but a state of mind.
Presence, focus, non-attachment.
Right. In Kendo, there's a mushin, no mind. Being present, responding intuitively.
No overthinking, just flowing with the opponent.
Yes. And in Kyudo, mental focus and precision are key. It's about inner stillness as much as hitting the target.
So they're like moving meditations.
You could say that. They reflect the Zen idea of the mind and body as one unified whole.
Wow. Zen has really permeated Japanese culture.
It truly has. Art, aesthetics, martial arts, everyday rituals, it shows the power and relevance of these principles.
And speaking of relevance, Zen seems to be making a comeback in the modern world.
It is. Zen principles and practices are popping up everywhere. Healthcare, education, business, personal development.
Why do you think that is? Why is Zen resonating now in the 21st century?
Well, I think mindfulness and meditation are gaining mainstream acceptance.
People are realizing the benefits.
Exactly. Stress reduction, focus, emotional regulation, even boosting your immune system. There's science to back it up now.
We're finally catching up to ancient wisdom.
We are. And I think that scientific validation makes Zen more appealing, especially in the West.
It's not just some mystical Eastern thing anymore.
Right. It's evidence-based. And then there's the sheer stress of modern life.
Information overload, constant distractions, it's overwhelming.
And Zen offers a way to find peace amidst the chaos. Tools for mindfulness, stress management, clarity.
An antidote to the modern world.
It can be. And that's why we see Zen being used in so many ways now.
Yeah.
Businesses using mindfulness training.
For workplace wellness, I've heard of that.
And schools using it to help students focus and regulate their emotions.
Yeah, that makes sense. And even healthcare is incorporating mindfulness.
Integrative medicine is on the rise. Zen techniques are being used to manage pain, anxiety, depression.
Wow. Zen has gone mainstream.
It has, which is great, but there are potential pitfalls.
Like what? What are the risks of Zen becoming so popular?
Well, it could get reduced to just techniques, stress reduction or productivity hacks without the deeper philosophy.
Just another self-improvement fad.
Yeah, stripped of its spiritual depth. And with the commercialization of mindfulness, we see watered-down versions.
So you got to be careful where you get your information.
Absolutely. Seek out authentic teachings, reputable sources, teachers, Zen centers grounded in tradition.
So speaking of those centers, are there still places to experience traditional Zen?
Oh, absolutely. Zen centers and monasteries all over the world.
What's it like to go to one of those?
They offer all sorts of programs, session retreats, intensive silent meditation.
A week or more of just sitting.
Yep. Komi study workshops, working with those riddles with a teacher, classes on mindful living.
A chance to really immerse yourself.
Exactly. But remember, Zen isn't just for monasteries. It's something you can integrate into your life anywhere.
That's good to hear. So for a total beginner, what's a good entry point?
Start with the basics, cultivating mindfulness in daily life.
How do you actually do that? Everyone talks about mindfulness, but what does it really mean?
It's simply paying attention to the present moment, non-judgmentally. Noticing your thoughts, feelings, sensations without getting carried away.
So being aware of what's happening inside and outside, right here, right now.
Yes, you can practice it anytime, anywhere. While walking, eating, washing dishes, even just breathing.
So it's not about emptying your mind or stopping your thoughts.
Nope. Thoughts are natural. Mindfulness is noticing them without judgment, like watching clouds drift by.
I like that analogy.
So to start, try mindful breathing. A few minutes each day, focus on your breath. If your mind wanders, gently guide it back.
No judgment.
Right. Or try mindful walking. Pay attention to your feet, the air, the sights and sounds around you.
Engaging all your senses, being present in the experience.
Exactly. Apply that to any activity. Eating, savor each bite. Washing dishes, feel the water, the soap.
Finding awareness in the everyday.
Yes. And those little moments add up.
Now, I know Zen has a reputation for being serious, but is there a place for humor in it?
Oh, absolutely. Zen masters love humor, paradox, jokes, riddles. It's about challenging assumptions, seeing things anew.
Humor can be very eye-opening.
It can. And Zen values playfulness, spontaneity. Not being rigid, but embracing the moment.
So don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. Authentic practice often has a sense of lightness, joy.
That's good to know. I think a lot of people find Zen intimidating, all those rules and discipline.
It's understandable. But Zen is ultimately about freedom. Freedom from those beliefs and patterns that cause us suffering.
So finding inner peace, liberation, but how do you know when you found it? What does that look like?
That's a tough one. It's not about reaching a blissful state where everything's perfect. It's about changing your relationship to your experiences.
Still experiencing life's ups and downs, but not being so caught up in them.
Exactly. Developing equanimity, meeting everything with clarity and compassion.
Sounds freeing.
It is. But this acceptance, non-attachment, could it lead to avoiding difficult things?
That's what worries me. Spiritual bypassing.
It's a valid concern. Authentic Zen is not about ignoring your emotions. It's about relating to them differently.
So how do you find that balance? Acceptance without disengagement.
It's an ongoing process. Acceptance isn't apathy. It's acknowledging what is without judgment and responding skillfully.
So engaging with life in a conscious, compassionate way.
Exactly. It might mean taking action, setting boundaries, seeking support.
Not passivity, but conscious engagement.
Right. It's about understanding yourself and your place in the world. Now, any Zen misconceptions we should clear up? A few. One is that Zen is about emptying your mind.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
But as we said, thoughts are natural. It's about observing them without judgment.
Changing your relationship with them.
Exactly. Another one is that Zen is a religion.
So is it or isn't it?
It depends. It has roots in Buddhism, but Zen itself is more of a practice, a way of life.
No deities, no dogma.
Nope. It's about exploring your inner experience. Anyone can practice, regardless of their background.
Makes it much more accessible.
It does. And then there's the idea that Zen is all about being passive and detached.
Yeah, withdrawing from the world.
But non-attachment doesn't mean indifference. It's about letting go of clinging and acting with compassion.
Engaging mindfully, not withdrawing.
Exactly. And Zen also emphasizes social action, working for the benefit of all.
That's not something you hear about often.
It's true. But true awakening involves both personal liberation and responsibility for others.
Extending that compassion outward.
Yes. That's one of the most beautiful things about Zen.
It really is, and I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's always more to explore.
Exactly. Zen is a deep well of wisdom.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
So until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep that Zen spirit alive.
And remember, the journey is the destination.
Well said. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you soon for part 2 of our deep dive into Zen Buddhism.
Looking forward to it. It encompasses both, personal and social aspects.
Absolutely. So as we start to wrap up our deep dive, any final thoughts on Zen Buddhism? Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think it's crucial to remember you can't just grasp Zen intellectually.
You have to experience it firsthand.
Exactly. Zen is about practice. It's not a spectator sport, You got to roll up your sleeves and do the work.
So it's not about reading every book or listening to every podcast.
Right. It's about mindfulness, exploring your own experience, finding that stillness within.
So for someone who's curious, the best way to learn is to just try it.
Absolutely. And there are so many ways to start. Mindfulness in daily life, finding a Zen center, exploring formal meditation.
Great advice.
Yeah.
And it's a journey, not a destination. It's not about reaching some perfect state of enlightenment, but the process itself, right?
Perfectly put. It's about waking up to the present moment, to who you truly are, to the interconnectedness of everything.
And it's a journey anyone can take, if they're willing.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful message, especially these days.
Well said. This deep dive has been so insightful, really eye-opening. Hope our listeners are enjoying it as much as I am.
Me too. Zen has so much to offer, both in terms of wisdom and practical tools for living a more mindful life.
I agree. And for our listeners, if you're intrigued, keep exploring. There are tons of resources out there. Books, articles, online courses, Zen centers.
It's a whole world waiting to be discovered.
And remember, the best way to understand Zen is to actually practice it. Try some mindfulness. Explore your inner world. See what comes up.
It's a journey of self-discovery, challenging and rewarding.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us today. This conversation has been truly enriching.
The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Zen Buddhism. We hope you've learned something new and maybe even found some inspiration to bring a little more Zen into your own lives. And before we go, I want to leave you with a thought from the Zen tradition. It's simple but powerful. You're already enlightened, you just have to realize it.
A beautiful sentiment to end on. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It really is. That potential is already there, inside us.
We don't have to look elsewhere, just clear away what's blocking it.
Reminds me of that saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Life keeps going, but you see it differently.
Yeah. With new clarity, appreciation.
Peace, presence, right in the middle of everyday life.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much about Zen's history, the philosophy, and how it applies today.
It's fascinating how something so old can be so relevant now.
It is. Well, for our listeners, if you're intrigued, keep exploring.
There are tons of resources out there, books, articles, Zen centers.
Don't be afraid to dive in.
And remember, the best way to understand Zen is to experience it. Practice mindfulness. See what comes up for you.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Likewise. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Zen Buddhism. We hope you've gained some insights, maybe even some inspiration. Until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep that Zen spirit alive.